everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are moving forward to sex positive parenting. So we have Melody Gomez with Square Peg Youth Empowerment.
I don't know that anybody can say that, hey, I'm an expert on parenting. I've been a parent for 21 years because I really feel that you as a parent know your children better than I will ever know your children, better than anybody else will ever know your children. These are what I base pretty much everything. Anytime I give a mini lesson, whether it's with Square Peg or anytime we do anything with Rebel, these are our values and our value sets. Now, I made this slide its own thing because it's a big basis in why we're teaching sex positivity in this way. And so that's to work on being a whole person. Parenting does not define us, although sometimes it doesn't feel that way. What is sex positive parenting? I'm going to give you my definition. To me, sex positive parenting is a dynamic that allows for open conversations with youth and guardians. So similar to a mentor-mentee or apprenticeship relationship, wherein any topic can be brought to the table or brought to the spotlight, and it will be addressed with respect and dignity. When we talked about the profile of an aggressor, sometimes we get into these really abusive dynamics, but because the sex is so beautiful, we end up using that, becomes a tool of manipulation, and that becomes a tool of like, well, we must still have a connection, we must still love each other, because while we're intimate, but withholding information about bodies, pleasure, and sexual health keeps children vulnerable to abuse. And that's exactly what we were just talking about. We just highlighted our own personal vignettes about how sex wasn't what we were expecting. But how are we to know if it's not something that we learned about ahead of time? And so it's our responsibility, I believe, to have a bank of knowledge from which our children can kind of come and get information. But that doesn't mean that you have to know everything. One of the articles that's in that resource is this here. And so this is a sexual development and behavior in children PDF. And this tells you around this time, around this age group, these are the things you'll probably see and your children will be curious about. You know, we always think, why do we have to talk to children about sex? Why do I have to talk to my 4-year-old about sex? Why do I have to talk to? Because we think it's something that either won't happen to us, or we think it's something that doesn't happen that early. But child sexual abuse is not a rare experience. The how, I think, is the most important here. And again, I'm not going to explicitly tell you how to do this because I have no right, really. But I can ask you to set a foundation for the how. And the first one is to set and maintain boundaries. And we need to model these things. It's okay to mess up, and it's okay to have to go back and re-explain things to your children. That's part of the process of learning. But I also wanted to pinpoint that boundary setting isn't just about your body and your physical touch. We talk about consent before it pertains to sexuality. It's our feelings. So that really hurt my feelings. I don't like it. Or my time. This person, I don't feel good around this person. I'm not going to give them my time anymore. Or it's about things. I don't want so-and-so to hold my teddy bear. Or we're going to go into give youth the language that they need. Give our youth explicit things to say when they feel uncomfortable and when they need more information from you. Very rarely do we ever act out, what do you do if somebody's touching you inappropriately? Or what do you do if your boundaries are violated? And so when something uncomfortable happens and you're panicking because you don't know how to handle the situation, you have something to go to so that it's not this heightened thing. Use words, use consent, use violate, use you are in my space, use you are violating my boundaries. Teach our youth the language they understand. Recognize sex as a part of the human experience. Like some of us have learned through painful trial and error. So if you don't talk about sex, our youth aren't going to talk about sex with you. If you're embarrassed by sexuality and your sexuality, your youth are going to be embarrassed of their sexuality and anything that they go through. If you're embarrassed by the idea of it and the concept of it, and you keep it something as part of a non-disclosure thing, then if something happens to your youth, God forbid, that's not something you're going to be privy to. And so we have to ask ourselves, is that something I want? I didn't know. I didn't know because my child didn't know that that's what it was, because we had never talked about it before. I was in that mind frame of, it won't happen to my kid. I'm too protective. I have a close eye on my kid. Not fully understanding that it can happen to anybody. But a lot of our youth don't have the language So let's start giving it, okay? Please remember that all of our children are individuals. All we can do is model the best we can, step out of our comfort zone and show our children, model for our children what it is that we would like to see happen, and ask ourselves the question, do I want to be comfortable in my comfort zone and in my space, or do I want a healthy child who can navigate the world confidently?
All right, well, thank you, Melody, for joining us today. Thank you for all that you do. We're going to start the human trafficking hopefully in September. All right, bye.
Okay, bye.